I remember praying in the beginning of our marriage of like, Lord, if this is going to change us, please take it away. I do not want money. I don't want it. I don't want it. Like, just take it.
I was praying very different prayers. I just want to let everyone know.
I was just like, I do not want this.
All right. Welcome, the one and only. I hear you are married to a great man. Wonderful guy.
Oh, that I am.
Yes. No, but for you guys who don't know, this is my lovely wife, Debora. Actually, Debora Silva, which is kind of crazy. That is crazy.
Recently, yeah.
Yeah, as of recently. Look at that. We've been married now 4 years and 3 months. And I want to bring you on for many reasons. Of course, one, I wouldn't be where I am at by any means without you, like 0% chance. But more than that, I think you actually, because the whole concept of the podcast, right, is like real lives of real estate. And I can't think of it getting any more real than bringing on your spouse unfiltered. So like, and especially for you, because we've been together just coming on almost 7 years, like 6.5 years. So you really have seen my entire journey in real estate, where I came from, where we're going, how's it looking, how's it heading, the whole nine, right? So for actually, how long have we been together? Oh, 6 years.
Yeah, but you had just started real estate.
Yeah. Okay. So about 6 years. The point is, I thought it would be really wonderful to have you on because that you've been so faithfully and wonderfully supporting me. And not only that, you've had the inside look. So this is going to, you deserve. This is going to be a little bit different of a podcast because I want it to be more us both asking questions. What did you grow up in? Did you grow up in a house, an apartment, 2-family, 4-family, beach house? Mansion?
I mean, I can't remember what we lived in Brazil. Actually, we lived on a property in Brazil that was the church property, and it was right across. It was basically like a gated part, and it was like the church building, and right across was our house.
In Brazil?
Yeah.
How'd you know that?
There's pictures. Oh, okay. And I remember like my mom, like when she shares stories of like our childhood, like of like the gate being open, and I was like 3 years old and just learned, or I was like still in diapers, and I like left. And I basically like went on like a highway, like in my little diaper. And my mom, like my older brother, Davi, came out screaming like, Mom, like Peppa is like going up the highway. But anyways, then when we moved
off the highway.
Well, yes, I did. When we moved to Jersey, we lived in a 2-family. We lived on the top floor. And then when we lived in Florida, we lived in an apartment, also on the top floor. And then when we moved to Hampton Bays, we lived in a house. And then when my parents moved to Nyack, they lived in an apartment, and now they're back in a house, and we're in an apartment. So a little bit of everything, really.
So you went from Brazil to Jersey, from Jersey to Florida, from Florida to Hampton Bays. Okay. In Jersey, what did you live in? You said house?
In a 2-family house. We lived on the top floor.
And how old were you when you left that?
I was in 5th grade.
Do you remember, like, did you ever come across your mind, like, oh, someone else is living next door, or no?
Next door?
Because it's a 2-family house, or was it above you?
We didn't talk to our neighbors. We talked to our landlord that lived on the first floor.
Oh, that's what I meant. Oh, so it wasn't a side-by-side duplex. It was like our house.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we became very close to the landlord. And
you knew that he was the landlord?
It was a she. It was an older woman. She had actually a dachshund that had like the training wheels because it got paralyzed. And we lived there for, I don't remember the rent, nor do I like.
But you knew that it was like a rental?
I don't think that I knew that, but I did know. The only way that I knew was that I remember there was a time that like we had lived there for a certain amount of time. I don't remember what happened, but my dad raised our rent because he wanted to give her more money because she had like been so wonderful to us, and like we were loud, and it was 3 kids, and like we used the backyard, and I don't know what happened.
On the play. So you're saying your dad is a Brazilian immigrant. He comes to America, poor as dirt, right? Figuring himself out. Was he a pastor when he came to America already? Yeah, he's a pastor when he came to America, making no money. And your dad is renting. You guys get along. The lady's downstairs, first floor. And your dad, the tenant, goes to the landlord and says, hey, I want to pay you more money.
Yeah. You would have to ask my dad the exact reason why. But I remember like maybe later on hearing that and realizing like, oh, we don't own this. I don't know. I don't think I ever thought that we owned it, maybe.
Okay. It's funny too, because I actually have spoken to your dad about this. And his question was like, oh no, it seemed like the right thing to do. My mind, I was like, that's so interesting. Because every time our story is always like the tenants want to pay as little as possible. But I guess, hey, there's some tenants out there who are
My parents are wonderful tenants.
No, okay. I think that's
They're
probably the
wonderful
only tenant that's ever done that. I don't think there's another example of paying your landlord more money even though they didn't ask. With that being said, okay, so when you went to Florida, that was a house though.
No, that was an apartment.
Oh, sorry.
In
That was when did the house? Oh, a house came in
Hampton
Hamptons.
Bays.
So okay, now in Florida, did you know?
Yeah, because it was like a condominium.
And you knew like we have the management company.
Yeah, there was like a pool. We lived by like a lake or like a pond, and there was like all the apartments around it.
And then when you went to Florida, Hamptons, that was your first time in a house.
Yeah.
What were the differences for you, Deb? Like growing up in a house, like having a house and having an apartment. What are some differences you and your family had? Any at all?
I remember being a big deal that I could paint my room. When we moved to Hampton Bays, my parents asked like what color, and it was my first. Actually, no, I always had my own room. But I remember my parents asking like, "What color do you want your room?" And I think I said purple. I don't even like purple. I don't know why I said it, but and I remember my mom was able to paint like the kitchen and the living room, and that was kind of like a big deal for her.
Wow, and that's how you knew like, oh, this is really like ours.
Yeah, and it was like homey.
The home, of course.
Yeah.
Home is homey. Yeah, and now, were there any other differences that you had like consciously? You think from the 2-family condo living or apartment living to the single family house in the Hampton
I think
Bays?
it's so much more private because when we lived in the 2-family, we had our landlord downstairs, and we lived in the apartment. There was everyone around us, right? There was a bunch of apartments. We were on the second floor, so there was neighbors across us and below us. But then when we had our house, or we rented it, we didn't own it. The church owned it, but it was like
the church
first.
owned the house. Really? But it wasn't connected to the church.
Sorry, one of the members of the church owned the house.
Oh,
but it
okay.
was like the church had paid for the rent.
The church?
It was like taken out of like
okay.
the
So
salary.
it was like your dad had a stipend. He had a living
Yeah,
stipend.
I
Okay,
guess.
so they paid for his housing,
So like after my dad left, the new pastor lived in that house.
and this church member was just always renting it out.
I guess, yeah.
Wow. Look at that. Investment properties helping the church.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, that's actually nice. I didn't know that. Okay, this is good. All right. Now, I guess, fast forward, when we started dating, you were always a hard worker. You did your thing. Even when you went to like Oneonta, you had your own place with the roommates, right? Always doing your own. I didn't really realize this until I'm on the podcast right now. It's actually, you are the most real point of view. So why don't you tell the listeners here what exactly I was like when we first started dating? What did real estate? Obviously, I was a wonderful man. You were madly in love. Yada yada yada.
Captured my heart.
Captured the heart. Great, strong, ridiculously in shape at the time. We are on a steady decline there since then. But what were some differences of dating me at that season when I just was getting into real estate? I was in real estate about 5 months when we started dating, versus like a traditional non-real estate or non-like entrepreneurial individual.
I mean, it's hard to say because we were also in such different like seasons. Like I had only dated in college, and now this is like the real world, right? Like I had started my career, you were starting your career.
That's true. How about like in comparison to your friends now who are single and are dating? What would you say some differences are?
I would say that the biggest difference is that like you don't clock out. Like there's no end. Like your phone is always ringing. You're always thinking or like reading about how to improve or what to change. So I think it's like a mindset of like, this isn't just a job. This is like your every minute. Maybe not every minute. I'm exaggerating, but I will.
Yeah, it's like consuming.
Yeah, but I will say that when you first started like asking this question that you were like thinking about when we first started dating and what it was like, I thought you were going to ask a completely different question. So
Ooh,
I'll
what
answer
question was
that
that?
one instead.
Okay, go ahead.
About what you were like when we first started dating and you first started your career. I have this like picture in my head of you at your mom's house at the dining table with this like big chair that you had just recently purchased because you were like tired of sitting in a regular chair. And that was...
It was a lazy boy. And I remember it was $220 or $189 or $229. And I called Carlos. I said, man, it was like $250. I was like, Carlos, you think I should buy a chair? It's $250 for a chair. This is crazy. He goes, buy the chair. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, oh my God, okay. And I bought myself like a lazy boy chair. It was so cool.
But I remember you sitting at this table with this big whiteboard on the wall. And I could tell it was like your mom's handwriting for the most part. There was some of your handwriting too. And it was your... like where each deal was and like where in the contract or whatnot. And And I remember like maybe a little bit after that, you would say like my business. And I had the thought of like, oh, sweet honey, like it's just you, like not much of a business, but, and then you had like your first assistant, and then you had like another teammate or I guess coworker that worked on your team. And then you started saying my business, and you kept saying that. And I'm like, okay, like he has an assistant now. Like I could see it growing. And to now you say like my business. And I'm like, oh no, this is legit. Like this is real now. Like you actually like have a huge business.
Yeah. In a way, I spoke it before it existed. In a way, I just kept saying it out loud and tricked myself into like what it became. No, I definitely do remember that. I remember like at first when we started dating, it was a small whiteboard. And then I don't even remember this. Like I leveled up into a large whiteboard.
I remember the big one, like on your mom's wall.
There was a small one. It was black. It had like 8 listings max, or 8 contracts. And then the big one is when I crossed like the 12 at a time or something. I got a big one. I said, oh, I'm a baller. Like this is just insane. What did you think? Because when we were dating, I was sharing a bed with my mom at her house. Did that ever come?
Weird detail to share.
Well, I obviously, we were like wholesome and beautifully, very traditional marriage here. But with that being said, like you did know I shared a bed with my mom. Like literally, my mom didn't spend it every night at home, granted. Right. But like, did you ever think of that? Like that's a little strange.
I definitely thought it was weird, but I knew that it like she wasn't there not that she wasn't there often, but
Well, I was grown, right? I'm like 22 years old, 23.
And I feel like it was just like a place to sleep. Like, but I remember us having this conversation of like you not having like your room and how like big of an impact that was.
To me, I was saying that?
Yeah, you would say that to me.
Oh, really? I remember that.
Oh my goodness, honey. I remember like so vividly like a phone call because I was in my room on the floor and sitting in my room, like this cozy place that I had like just created my little safe haven. And I remember you were like just really frustrated because you didn't have your own space. And I would say that's like an ongoing theme.
No, since then I never had my own space.
Not having like your own space.
Yeah, it's funny enough, I was just telling Brucey's girlfriend, Kay, if you're listening, shout out to you. Very nice having you over. But I was telling Brucey's girlfriend, I was like, since I've gotten married, I haven't had my own space. Well, you realize when you get married, real estate wise, you actually just live in your wife's home. Is what I've determined to be the case. I think it is true because in our house now, I still do not have my own space, and we've got more square footage.
And I have made it very clear you can have the space. You just gotta do it.
No, she gave me like the most bootlegged little room.
No, we said you could buy like the nice chair that you want to
put
in a room.
But where I would go? No. Anyways, the point of the story is, so I don't remember complaining, but maybe I did. I can't imagine I didn't. It was very uncomfortable, and the bed was always broken. My mom, I don't know if you remember, I had to put like these wooden beams underneath my mom's bed to support it.
Hot pink sheets, though.
Hot pink sheets. I remember those as well.
And you had like your little section in the closet.
Yeah, I had my own section. That's true. Okay. Well, that said, what else? How else was I?
I think that maybe I didn't fully understand how hard you had worked because you were so intentional when it was like quality time that you would turn off your phone.
Oh, I remember that.
Now I see like, wait, that's like a huge deal to turn off your phone for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And just like not even pay any attention to like what is going on in like with work.
Yeah, the day nights were critical. What I would do is I would turn off the phone. I would literally turn off my phone when I went to pick you up.
Yeah, in the car.
And I would use your phone as the Spotify because I was like, oh, I'm just going to use her phone and play music because my phone would not, especially back then, my phone rang more often than not because I was more direct to the customer.
And now when you do that, I'm like, oh, that's like a huge deal.
Yeah. I think maybe that's something I should get back more and more in the practice of. Because what ends up happening in like real lives of real estate, right? You end up being in a place where the moment you get that text that says like the deal's dying or that email or whatever it is, it just throws off your whole night.
Crashes the night.
Yeah. So and you can't rebound off of it, right? I said that with you with Maverick, right? When we would go on dates and Maverick was home and he would wake up in the night with a babysitter, you'd be like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Your brain is just off track.
Yeah, it goes 100 miles per hour the other direction. So it really is better just to let the deal die. And then like in 3 hours, when you pick the phone, no one's dead. Everyone's okay. All right. What else would you say are from the early days that you remember? Did you have any, like, did your parents would see me work a lot? Did they ever say something? Your parents are these super amazing, like my in-laws are truly amazing people, like very kind, like truly like unbelievable people. And they welcome me in with like the most godly arms ever. With that being said, did you have any experiences with them growing up? I'm sorry, with them while we were dating about like my work? because I would work so much.
I think my dad was like interested in what you were doing, because I feel like he would ask questions, or like even if he couldn't like follow along with like everything that you were saying, because like some stories you're just like, what, the deal, the contract, like people that don't know real estate, they like don't, and like my parents had never bought a house, so I think that they didn't fully understand. But I think that when you would talk and like share things that were like you were experiencing with like a contract or something, I think that like my dad was genuinely interested.
He was interested. I agree.
My mom, not so much. I don't think she like cared that much. I think that as long as like, you know, you were okay. But I think my dad was kind of more interested to hear what the process is like to buy a house.
Okay. Question for us. You're supposed to be asking me questions, but I have something for you.
I have a question for you too.
Okay, go ahead. What's up? Just ramble.
So you recently posted.
Oh wow, you
shared,
fast forward so much.
Yeah. That yeah, I really am fast forwarding. That the most watched video, your viral video, was the one of Maverick when I was away.
Hopefully this podcast beats that video, but yes.
So how was it for you in terms of like work with being with Maverick?
Yeah, so Deb is referencing this time that I was alone with Maverick for 3 nights, our son Maverick, 1 year old. And I will tell you this, what I've learned. Big shout out to the single parents out there, because it's like a sensory overload that takes place. So I was always thinking like, hey, he's only up for 3.5 hours. He goes to bed for 2 hours, like that nap. So I'm like, just get your stuff done during that 2 hours. Toughen up, right? But what happens is during the 3.5 hours, it really is sensory overload. And my phone is ringing, so I'm trying to answer that call. And it's a very overwhelming experience, honestly. And you can't seem to do anything right. But my decisions I make aren't like dollar decisions. They're like $10,000 decisions. And frankly, lately I just made a $48,000 decision, right? And today I'm making a $200,000 decision. So because I'm making large decisions, there's a lot of pressure with each decision that I make. And one day I hope to make $1 million decision. With that being said, with Maverick in that weekend, my decision-making ability decreased. And that was the reality. Like, I couldn't make as good decisions because my brain was so focused on Maverick, I couldn't think about the business. So I think that was a big thing for sure.
Did you expect that?
I did not expect that. I thought I'd be able to compartmentalize more. Like when he's sleeping,
like in the 2 hours, like you,
I could work, get my stuff done. Yeah, but it did not happen. Or even when at night when he go to bed, I think
you just like want to not do anything.
Yeah, I just want to chill. So I do think though, if let's say God forbid you passed away, right? And I was like devastated and I had to like take care of Maverick.
Thank you, honey.
But if that did happen, I would, without a doubt, I would have to hire like full-time caregiver. There's no way. I would have to hire a living nanny, or like there'd be no shot. Because there's no way I could do what I do now and like drop him off, pick him up. Like it's physical. It would not. I don't know how people do it. I'm still trying to figure it out. Especially because now he's an infant. Imagine when he's like 7 and he really he doesn't take that 2-hour naps or an hour and a half.
I think about Teresa.
Oh, no, Teresa, God bless her.
God bless Teresa. Don't nap. I mean, Sophia naps every once in a while, but
here's the good news. So like with Teresa and with you guys, well, now you got a job at the church, right? But you guys are full time at home. This is imperative, because even being full time at home, you still guilt yourself, you shame yourself for taking time to yourself, right? Mm-hmm. You're so exhausted, depleted. It's horrible. It really is.
I'm thankful that you did that for me.
Well, cheers to Brendan. I agree. With that said, question for you, my love. Backward. Now we went fast forward, backward.
Sorry, that was just what was in my brain.
No, Rami will edit it. He'll make it all sound good. Can you tell the viewers or the listeners here, when we came across a deal as a 4-family in Fairview, in Jersey. It was for $420,000. Right now, the property's worth $850,000. Okay, I brought it to Deb. I said, Deb, you should buy it. We should buy this house together. I was going to use, because I didn't have 2 years of income, so I was going to use Deb's income to qualify for the house. And I would say, you'll add me on later when things work out. And that's how you know.
You didn't start the story by we were dating.
Oh, we were dating. Oh, yes, of course.
How long?
So we were dating. I would say about a year. Probably a year. Just under a year.
Probably like 6 months.
No, it was probably 8 months.
7
Basically,
months.
8 months into our relationship, I asked Deb, hey, I have an unbelievable opportunity.
If we want to buy a house together.
Buy a house. It was like 9 months into the relationship. And I said, hey, let's JV on a deal. And what'd you say? Tell.
I think,
come clean.
I think I need a ring first.
No, it's not. Oh, that's not what you said.
No, I didn't say that. But I was like, I don't. First of all, I didn't understand what it meant to buy a house as an investment. I always thought like you buy a house, that's your home. So like the idea of buying a house and it not even being a house that we live in or that we plan on living in or that we were going to fix to live in, to me, it was like, what the heck? Why would we do this? And it was a huge commitment for people that had been dating for, even if it was 9 months.
Yeah.
That's a huge commitment. Like, we were legally binding ourselves together in this house, in this purchase. And we're not engaged and we're not married, clearly. And to me, it was like, this is like a huge step. It's like equivalent to moving in together.
But I didn't even get, hey, if this doesn't work out, here's how, it was like, I gave like a prenup to the.
You did say, if it doesn't work out, you get to keep the house. And I'm like.
Because I was so confident. I was so confident that this was going to work. I said, you keep it. It was a great deal. And that happened like 3 times, by the way.
But
multiple good deals.
But we did go to counsel.
Mm-hmm. We have mentors. And they agreed with your decision.
They agreed that maybe this is too soon for you guys to be doing this.
It was too soon. We did miss out on almost $500,000 plus cash flow. And it was totally Deb's fault, but
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I'm still bitter.
I think we got enough now, right?
No. With that being said, I just want you to have an opportunity here to confess.
Well, speaking of Rob and Sue, and when we were like
Rob and Sue are our pastors and mentors during our dating season.
That we had been going to them for our whole relationship and then like premarital. And I remember when we were in like the premarital talking about like, hey, where do you guys see yourselves in 5 years, 10 years and whatnot? So I can't remember like our answers, but if you look back to when we were there, do you think that this is where we saw ourselves in 5 years? Because we're approaching 5 years now.
Sure. I would say, yeah. I think like my vision for our marriage definitely is what it is. The only thing I think differently, I thought we would travel more often.
I think we travel in comparison to.
No, I thought we would travel a lot more. And I thought we would live somewhere tropical. Because I always tell myself that. I'm like, every 3 years, I'm going to like, all right, in 3 years from now, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be out. So I keep telling myself like the 3-year lie that I've learned is just like, it's not true. About like, hey, in 3 years, I'm going to work hard for 3 years. And I'm going to have a beach. And I realized like, I don't want the beach. I actually do enjoy the game. But yeah, no, that is, I would say so.
But do you think that this is where you thought you would be? We would be.
I probably thought I'd be further ahead.
Really?
Like career-wise, for sure. Career-wise, for sure.
I think that we're much further ahead than I expected.
Really? No, I'm just kidding. Marriage-wise, I think we're really, we're doing really well.
Yeah.
I love that we're I really, big shout out to Rob and Sue. If you do not have, relationship mentors, you're beat. Like people who are above and way ahead than you.
I can guide
and then
you
have like authority, right? Like they tell you like, you can't do this and you have to shut up and listen. Like that is like authority. Oh, question for you. Tell the story of we're getting married and I tell you, I'm like, hey, you know, we had like 130 grand in the bank at the time. And what did I do?
So
I had 145 in the bank. I had 145 and I bought the house for like 125, I think it was 130.
So we are maybe a few weeks before our wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Mind you,
month, max.
Brendan paid for a majority, if not all, of the wedding.
I did pay for all the wedding. I don't know what majority. Who else chipped into this wedding? Oh, no, your parents did actually bless.
My parents did chip in for things.
Oh, I completely forgot they chipped in.
Yeah.
Oh, your parents are the best. Oh, and we said like there's no need for them to chip in, but they chipped in. Yeah, great people. Great people. Oh, yes.
So it was like a few weeks before our wedding, and like we had been going back and forth wedding planning of like, you know, what to do, what not to do. And, you know, you were obviously like providing or paying for the whole wedding. And then it was a few weeks before and you're like, hey, Deb, we're going to have zero money in like a week. And I'm like, what do you mean zero money? You're like, I'm going to take all of the money that I have. And like, we didn't have a joint bank accounts or anything. So it was like already talking about like our money, but it was in your account. I'm going to take all of it. I'm going to maybe leave like $2,000.
It was something like that. Yeah. It ended up being like $5,000 or something for like, it was only for like 2 weeks, but yes.
But yes, I'm going to take all of it and I'm going to buy a house. And I was like, what? Like, that just doesn't sound wise to me. And my whole thing is like, okay, it might be a great deal, but is it wise to be doing this? Like
your
right
whole
at
thing
this
was like,
time?
this could be a great deal, but not a great time for it. That was I
think it's still my thing.
Yeah, I do agree, honestly, even with the billboards now. But with that said, no, and then the funny part is you were right, because I ended up losing like $7,000 on that deal. It was my first investment property, and I ended up losing several months. And I remember at our honeymoon, you were in bed asleep, and I was like, because we went to, our honeymoon was in Indonesia, so it was like 12-hour time difference. And I remember looking at emails, and I got an email saying there's an oil leak on your property.
I remember.
And I was like,
And I'm like, what are we
I was
doing
so
talking about this house on our honeymoon? Like this house that took all of our money that I don't even know what it's for, like why we did this.
That was brutal. I actually think about that. Going into marriage like that was brutal.
Brutal, but
It was so stressful.
But think about the way that I handled it as well.
How'd you handle it?
I spoke what I believed, right? That it wasn't the right deal, or it might have been the right deal, wrong time.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I also followed your lead and said, hey, this is obviously your field of expertise. I don't agree with it. I don't understand what's going on. It sounds like a ridiculously dumb idea to do right now.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you think so, okay.
Yeah, you're totally right. You did handle it very well. Very, very well. And you're even on the honeymoon, you didn't panic. I was panicked. I remember you were asleep. I was like,
because I wouldn't even know how to help you.
My anxiety was so high. I said, and I didn't know at the time.
They're Googling, what is an oil leak?
at that time. And also,
effects of an oil leak.
I learned so much from that investment opportunity. But I think it was actually a good way to go into marriage too, because it did set the tone of our marriage, which is just I keep doubling down. Eventually I'm very sad to say, I'm sure I'm going to hit, I'm going to miss, right? It's going to be I'm going to bet everything on red and it's going to go black, but it is what it is. Sadly enough, but that is the case.
But I do trust that you are always being mindful that hey, this is your responsibility. And if it doesn't work,
it's my consequence. Yeah,
on you.
Yeah, it's not shared.
Much I can do.
There's no shared consequence. The responsibility financially is definitely on me, for sure. With that said,
I would say there's a shared consequence. I would feel it, but
shared consequence, but the responsibility is on me
to fix it. That's you.
Yeah. It's we're both sinking, but I'm the one who needs to patch the hole.
Paddle us up.
Anyways, so with that said, prenup. We do not have one.
Oh gosh.
What do you think? Has anyone ever asked you that? I'm not a rich man, right? I'm not but has anyone ever asked you, do you have a prenup?
I have a feeling that maybe in the middle of a conversation, the topic of prenup came up, and I don't know if someone had asked me or said, would you or do you? I understand why someone would do it.
Yeah.
But I just think you're setting yourself up to say, hey, I can protect myself in case this doesn't work, which I understand why someone would want to.
I agree.
But if you were to get divorced, right? Mm-hmm. And there were children involved, I would think, wouldn't you want to be able to give them half of what you have, because they are your family and you're looking at me
No. I think this is my view on prenup. For us, we're Christian.
Oh,
well, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I remember when this topic came up a while ago, and you said, what would you do if I told you now that, that I had tricked you, because I've signed a lot of documents.
Yeah.
That I tricked you into signing a prenup.
Oh my God.
Do you remember what I said?
I have such funny jokes. Go ahead.
I said I would divorce you right now just so you could know that I would never want the money.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Really?
Oh, that was in our apartment in Newark. That was recent, no?
I don't remember, but I remember being if you tricked me into doing that, I would show you that I don't care. I don't want any of that.
I would look wholeheartedly. This is my view.
I would never divorce you, honey.
Yes. Well, come on. But with that being said, we are Christians and we're devout, right? So for us, I always tell people, I'm not married to you because of you. You're not the X factor in our marriage. Your performance is an X factor. For me, I view us I'm on a mission, right? From the Lord himself. Boom. I'm rocking this way. You were on a mission, same direction. When we got together, we just went on the same mission together. And we literally on our ring engraved, right? And same on yours. I think you got engraved too. No, okay.
You did.
It says his love, not ours. Mm-hmm. It's all about God's love not being not our love. Because my love for you is very fickle. Today I'm madly in love with you. Tomorrow I'm oh my God, I can't stand up, right? And it happens all the time, up, down, up, down.
Every day.
So if I was to every day, no, just kidding. But if I were to make decisions based off my emotions or based off my logic of this is just not advantageous for me, then divorce is a no-brainer, right? It's very common sense. But when you think to yourself, no, there's a higher purpose to my marriage than my own personal happiness and satisfaction, then we're all in. So with that mindset, the prenup, not for me. Now you can be a little bit more personal and direct about me. How do you feel real estate has impacted my life as a whole? Well, what are some things that people may not see?
What a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, you have 5 minutes to ramble.
It has brought out a side of you that I don't know that you had before. I don't really know you besides when we were teenagers of pre-real estate Brendan. But when you start something, it's very clear that you put all your thought and mind into it. And so I can't imagine you finding something else that you would be able to like channel that energy and that passion to the same way. Like if you were working at, I don't know, the first thing comes up was like car dealership. Like it's still sales, but if you were to be doing that, I feel like you would still be itching to like do more. Yeah. Whereas I feel like with real estate, it kind of fulfills this side of you that you can channel all of your passion and your tenacity and your like the way that you're driven into.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely needed a limitless opportunity.
Yeah, that's a good word, limitless.
Yeah, because there's just no cap. Okay, what else would you say?
It's also brought out this side of you in terms of leadership, that it's given you the opportunity to be a leader and to learn to be a leader, because I don't know that you've had like a role model in real estate that you've worked for that you're like, I want to be like that.
I have a lot, like Carlos, for example, our lender, Key Point Mortgage, shout out. He's a role model to me, and I like.
Yeah, but role model in terms of specific real estate agent.
Yeah, like leader. No, I would say Rob Dukansky, but I have never seen his leadership style.
Or worked for him.
I never worked for him, but I would honestly right now go work for Rob. Like if he hit me up, I think I would go take a break from the Silva team for like 3 months just to learn from him. I would 100%, without doubt. I wouldn't even think twice.
Really?
But I literally wouldn't think twice. For 3 months, I would go. At least a month, I would commit to, like, and just give everything to Scott and Chris to run. I'd be there for a month, 2 months, 3 months.
Where's there?
Wherever he is. I don't care. I'd go. I tell you, hey, send me pictures of Maverick and you, and I'm gone.
Nice.
I would honey. Oh, honey. I would beg. I would hope that you would give me a pat on the back. So I'll come with you, Brendan. But we're going. Yeah, that guy's a legend. Legend. Talk about the stress aspect. And I remember my counselor said, you need to choose a profession that is low stress. High stress is not going to be for you. And I look at this man, I say, I'm in real estate. What are you saying? Are you, I'm like that. I'm flabbergasted.
I think that I've seen different seasons of real estate, like in terms of market, in terms of your business. But I think that one thing that is consistent is the stress, no matter kind of where you are. And I don't know if it's because you are so like engulfed in like doing well and like succeeding that you do bring a new level of stress. Cause I'm sure not every realtor has this level of stress. Like that doesn't seem normal.
No.
But I think that you've been able to, I would say recently, like manage a little bit better and know that like, hey, I am at like my max. I need to take a break. Like your Portugal trip, right? Months before you were like, I mean, there's a lot of other things that were going on like personal wise, but I think that you're able to now see that there's a crash coming. I need to stop it before it comes. Whereas I think earlier on, you just kept crashing and it was just like a constant crash.
Yeah.
And it was like a cycle of like, after you crash, then you take a break. But I think recently you've been able to say like, my stress level is so high that I need to stop before I crash.
I did something a lot of people won't do. I don't have the tenacity for the grit. Is I like crash into crashes, pushing myself. Really, I think truly like I sacrificed about like 5 years. That's what I did. About 4.5 years, I just went all in, bloodthirsty. Then like 4.5 to 6 years in the industry, I've really 4.5 to 5 years. I went like, okay, I had literally a nervous breakdown in November of 2021, right? And then like all of 2022, I kind of chilled. I was like,
my brother's wedding.
Yeah, I was kind of chilled. I said, okay, I need to chill out. And then 2023, this year, I've gone into a much more healthy pace. Honestly, where I'm like in stride.
If you do look at the at our year, a lot of the crashes do happen towards September, October, November. Yeah. And then December, it's like, okay, it's family time, it's holidays. So like, I'm going to take a step back.
Yeah. Recoup and then the charge.
Good to know though.
Yeah, no, really good.
And
the worst part is the seasons are changing. The fall is my fall usually. And the seasons are changing.
I've experienced your stress, right? I've seen it. But if someone were from the outside looking in, like what is it if you had to pick like 3 things that actually make you stressed? Because you could say like, yeah, real estate is really stressful, but what makes it stressful?
It's not that real estate inherently, in real estate, yes, I guess it is inherently stressful. For me, it's that I've tied so much. There's 2 things that make it stressful for me. One, I've tied so much of my self-worth to it for so long. Healthy. So I'm so tied. No, it's very unhealthy, but it's very productive if you want to be successful. It's very helpful. So, but I tied my self-worth to it for so long, my financial status, that it's like, well, if this doesn't work, like, what am I? And now that's unhealthy. But on the second level, it's, well, if this doesn't work, we're beat because we have like our overhead is huge, right? We're not running at like a $40,000 a month overhead. Like we have serious overhead. So for us, that second part is like, hey, this needs to work because the pressure of the overhead. Whereas I'm sure if I had no overhead and I was running at like 70% profit margin, I'd be like, it didn't work. It's all good.
Well, but even in the beginning of your real estate, like I would say that you were still stressed even when it was just you.
That was because it was the first step, right? And then, so it's like the first thing, my identity is tied in it. The second is literally like actual financial challenge. Mm-hmm. And then the third is like the healthy, which is like the competitive nature. Like I love to win. Love to win. I love to win more than I love the prize. I like really don't care about the prize, the trophy. I just care about beating and like winning. And it's not even adversarial against another individual. It's always internally, right? It's always a competition. It's just like it's like puzzle it's like playing chess against a robot, right? Yeah, I don't really care about beating the other guy the robot in chess. I just care about winning the game of chess. Right? I don't care who I'm playing against. It's just about me. Even if I played myself, it wouldn't make a difference. Okay, what else can I say here? From my lovely wife as I hear Maverick downstairs.
I hear little noises.
Because you grew up low income, I grew up low income. We now are like definitely the top like 1%. How does that impacted you as a person in your interpersonal relationship and the way that you view yourself, the way you view money, right? Because I remember one time, a quick story, is I got Deb like these hoop earrings, right? And they were like these $500, $600 hoop earrings, whatever it was. And I give them to you, and you're like, I love these. They're golden hoops. And I'm like, yeah. And then 2 days later, you still haven't worn them. I was like, what's going on with these? And I'm like, do you not like the hoops? Because I got you the hoops, and you haven't worn the hoops. And you said like, I feel uncomfortable because like my parents right now are like, they're working every day to make rent, and I'm over here wearing $600, $500 hoops. So it's like, I just feel like it's uncomfortable. So, and then we ended up getting, that was actually the point. I was like, I got to marry this girl. The $500 hoops now are like $5,000 plane tickets, right? So it's like talk about like money and how it's impacted our lives as people.
Growing up, like we didn't have a lot of money, but my parents like instilled like a work ethic in us that like whatever we wanted, we had to work for. And so I think that when you did give me the earrings, I was like, I didn't work for them. I don't know what I did to deserve them. Right. And they're just way too expensive for me to be wearing. Like it just didn't make sense in my brain that like I should be wearing those, because I think that I might have had like an unhealthy relationship with money because I just saw it as like, you have money, that's bad. Like you shouldn't have a lot of money. Like as a Christian, like you like should be giving away money that you have like to support others, to like feed like people, and just always be using your money for other people and not you. Yeah. Like that was my like thing. Yeah. And it was actually, we had already gotten married, and now it's like your money became our money. And I remember like I was still wrestling with the fact that like I have a lot more money now than I ever thought that I would in the beginning of our marriage. And I was like really struggling to think that it was also mine, even because I hadn't also worked for it. And I remember calling my dad and being like, I have more money now and I don't know how to feel. I don't know what to think. Like, I don't know how to use it. He's so sweet. He was basically saying like, I've already seen you and Brendan, and like the way that you use your money is to help others. Having money is not a bad thing. God doesn't say like, hey, if you have money, like you're sinning. Like it's not a bad thing to have money. It's actually a good thing. It's a blessing that the Lord has provided and has given you. So don't see it as like something that's wrong. And I remember him saying like, I've already seen the way that you and Brendan, like the way that you view money and the way that you're so quick to give to others and to like help others. And that's something that like you should just always have in your heart. I think hearing from my dad, like someone that I obviously like really looked up to and that I trusted and like has just taught me so much. And for him to say like, hey, it's okay that you have money now. Like it's a good thing. It's a blessing. It's not something that you should see as a burden, but just don't let it change your heart. Don't think that because you have money now, like that you can go after and get everything that you want and that'll fulfill you.
Yeah, the saying goes like, it's good to have money. It's horrible for money to have you. Right.
Don't let money have you.
Yeah, and I think for you, I've definitely seen that too. Like even how we're spending, you're like, do we really need that? Like it more is need based. and like it's your view is more need, and then but you still have come around to like I do think your relationship with money was unhealthy, right? It's like, oh, that's not nice. That's not
I was
nice.
scared of it.
You
I
were
was scared to
scared.
have money because I just felt like if you have money, then you're going to just like love money and then it's going to mess up your life.
life, yeah.
I remember praying in the beginning of our marriage of like, Lord, if
No, I
this is
remember.
going to change us, please take it away.
Yeah.
I do not want money. I don't want it. I don't want it. Like, just take it.
I was praying very different prayers. I just want to let
I
everyone
was
know.
just like, I do not want this.
I was praying,
to
Lord,
affect us.
you know, you trust your steward, Brendan. You know, just I was like, try to give me the double. But no, 100%. I think it's a great place to end off because real estate the way that real estate impacts our lives is very real. Mm-hmm. It's monumental, it's galactic, and it's just unavoidable if you want to be in the industry. And your relationship with money is something you have to really deconstruct and reconstruct because everyone has a relationship with money. Just some people have a healthier and unhealthy relationship. And your relationship with money isn't determined by how much money you have, but how much money you have is a consequence of your relationship with money. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you give a lot of money and still have an unhealthy relationship.
Right.
But if you have a very healthy relationship with money, you will get more money. Facts. And then with that money, you can do with it what you will, right? I do see like money has definitely changed, not just not who we are as people, right? Because money is not like it doesn't change you, it like reveals you. I think money for us has revealed a lot of good things. Like we are generous. I would say we do love sharing what we have with others. Mm-hmm. And I do think for me, it's revealed that I'm undisciplined or I'm not detail orientated with money, but that you could just hire out. Like I hired a bookkeeper to help me with that. Right. I am fortunate to have you though, as like a constant, like a check and balance almost like, you know what I mean? Plus and minuses like, well, this is good, but kind of thing. No. So I'm grateful. Yeah. And I'm grateful that my real estate journey has been marked with you. Because especially that we got together before I made any money, right? So it's
That's
like
how you know it's true love.
Oh, I think that is how you know it's true love. But it really like we were able to build together. So when I look at what I have, I'm like, oh, I don't have this. It's like we have this. And that was a big thing, my terminology, right? So it's we have this relationship, we have this life, we have our family, we have the rental properties, we have the business, we have the money, and the roles and responsibilities are very clearly divided. However, like the value we both bring is like equal and like unified. And that's why we like able to level up. And frankly, I do truly believe if I did not get in a relationship with the right person who's phenomenal, that's you, by the way.
Thank you.
my financial chances would have been, my success chances would have been plummeted. Why? Because if you're 24 years old and you're dating around, you're 27, 29, 30, whatever, you're dating around like new girl, you can't focus on building. Everything's so unstable. You keep worrying about texting that girl back and you're like, you can't focus on your business. With you, you were so stable, right? Whereas me, I was so volatile, my mental health, my emotional health, whatever. You were overall very stable. So you were like a refuge of stability in a volatile, chaotic industry with a volatile, chaotic individual. Mm. So you were like very, very like just, you were the metronome, right? Well, my love, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I would say follow Deb, but she doesn't really post. And that's it. All right. Adios, guys.